Hi, and welcome to Lights.Cable.Action. I'm the host, Maria Lemieux, and joining me today are Michael Hale and Jackie Pratt from Selco. I like to call this show the voice of Selco. However, we've been a little quiet lately, and after today's episode, you'll know why. We've been not me personally, but Mike and Jackie have been really busy over at Selco, and this show is a synopsis of what's been going on this past year. The first topics that we're going to hit are on the electric side. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is a greenhouse gas report that came out recently in regards to the greenhouse emissions, gas emissions, and the new regulation for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to reduce those emissions by 80% by the year 2050. So I'm going to have Mike take that over and give us a brief synopsis of the report that came out and how the municipal light plants fared in that.
Yeah, and Maria and I both apologize. There have been quite a few reruns, and we both have been approached in the supermarkets asking us when we're going to refresh. So that is the purpose of today's show, to give you guys, the audience, a chance to hear what Selco's been up to. And one of the first things we wanted to touch base on is some legislation that's really been around for more than a decade now. In 2008, the state passed the Global Warming Solutions Act. Coming from that, the DEP promulgated regulations in 2015, 2016, and really what it requires is that all of the energy that's produced and used in Massachusetts be greenhouse gas free, 80% of it by 2050. It doesn't sound like a big endeavor, but it actually is a very big undertaking. Municipal light plants are exempt from the regulation, and there's been some environmental advocacies who have taken exception to the exemption. Municipal light plants are historically exempt because the basic premise behind public power is that the decisions are made at the local level by commissioners and boards of selectmen, and that's what public power is all about, keeping decisions local. So public power has long advocated that those decisions be made by individual communities and their board members and citizens within their borders. That said, municipal light plants do, and there are 41 of them in the state, have gotten together. There is an organization called MEME, and that group lobbies on behalf of our interests at the state level. And we do have an understanding that municipal light plants should play a role in reducing the carbon emissions in Massachusetts. And we've come up with a piece of legislation that requires us to get there by 2050 at 80%, but it's slightly different in how it's worded. So we've worked with a lobbyist, and we have filed legislation, and that's in the queue in the committee. But at the same time, we took a time out and said, well, let's really study what we do and what we have done. And so a report was commissioned by a consulting firm known as the Analysis Group, and they're headed by a former DPU commissioner from Massachusetts who's very versed in the policy arena for power supply. And he wrote a report, and he did a study of what municipal light plants have contributed towards the reduction of the Commonwealth's goals. And I knew that it was significant. I never knew that it was significant as it was until this study was done. So I'll take one diversion for a minute and just say one difference between us who live in Shrewsbury that are served by a municipal power company versus those who are served in Worcester by an investor-owned utility like National Grid. We have the ability in public power to sign long-term power contracts. National Grid doesn't have that same ability. They buy power for their customers on a 6-month basis. We have very long-term contracts, 20 to 25 years. So as a result of us being able to buy long-term contracts, we already have significant stake and ownership stake in facilities like Seabrook in New Hampshire, Millstone in Connecticut, both nuclear facilities, as well as a large share of hydropower.
So Mike, can you, not to interrupt you, but I am going to interrupt
Yeah,
you.
that's okay.
Can you just quickly say, because the report is very thorough,
Yeah.
but it also compares the investor-owned utility
Yeah.
with the municipal light plants.
Yeah.
And can you just make note of how much better
Sure.
the municipal light plant is
Yeah.
doing
In other words, just
comparison?
cut to the chase.
Yeah, just cut to the chase.
Yeah,
we're
no. So,
that's like the big number.
Of the power we've contracted for, 90% of it is greenhouse gas free. When compared to investor-owned utilities, about 75% of all the power consumed by the municipal entities in the aggregate is carbon free or greenhouse gas free, versus in the 50% range for the investor. So we're significantly ahead of where the investor-owned utilities are in terms of diversifying our power supply to meeting the Commonwealth's goals. So the report really gives the municipal light departments some leverage as we move forward towards meeting the Commonwealth's goals, and we will continue to educate people on that. It's not that munis have been sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. We're ahead of the curve in terms of,
and it's easier for the municipal to be this
Yes.
way, because it's easier for them to enter into these contracts,
Yep.
as opposed to the investor-owned utilities that they have a lot of red tape to go
Right.
through, and it's a lot more difficult for them. It takes them a longer time to make a decision than.
And we have continued to. We have built a wind project in the
Exactly.
Berkshires. We're buying the power from the Cherry Seed Solar Farm, and of course we built our own solar field on top of the landfill. So we continue to invest in diverse resources that help us in meeting the Commonwealth's goals.
And speaking of solar and solar energy and power, we can talk about the solar rebate program that's been going on.
Sure. So actually, Mike can talk a little bit about how this came about, and I can fill you guys in on what the sort of program offers to our residents.
Sure.
So yeah, I'll start. So the last generation of solar ended around this time last year in 2018, where customers, regardless of where you lived, got so-called renewable energy credits to offset the cost of putting solar on their homes. That program ended. The state came up with a new program, and municipal light plants were left out of that program because we don't pay into the program that provides the funding. That said, we thought we should do something. We partnered with the state agency that oversees the program for the investor-owned utilities, the DOER, and we came up with a program which we think is actually better than what is offered to the investor-owned customers. And so we have a program where the costs are shared 50-50. We provide an upfront capital reimbursement that should cover anywhere between a third to a half of the cost of installing. And when you add the investment tax credit that you get from the federal government, it should cover around 2/3 of the cost of installing solar on your roof on an upfront basis. We have about enough money in calendar year 2019 going into 2020 to do 18 to 20 homes. And so I'll let Jackie explain it.
I think we've got about 6 or 7 in the pipeline at various stages of approval. So
Okay.
just for some perspective on how many folks are taking advantage of it to date.
Okay.
But the way the program works is that you'll get $1.20 per watt of installed solar, and that money comes to you, half of it from Selco, half of it from the state. And in Shrewsbury, we have a maximum residential solar size of 10 kilowatts. So if you go for the maximum size project at $1.20 per watt, you could get $12,000 as a possible rebate through this program. That being said,
Can I just interrupt quickly? So when you say that 12,000 rebate over the year, that's like off your.
that's
the
like
cost
rate.
of your,
No, that's rate.
You get cash. You get. Oh,
Cash.
okay.
Well, you have to build it first and
So-
pay, then you're reimbursed.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the way it works is there are some requirements about shading and the directional limitations and requirements, right? So
Yeah.
the state and the group that put this project together, you know, tried
can't
to make
have
it efficient and
trees
effective.
hanging over your roof
Right.
that are going to shade the ability to
Oh,
create
well,
solar.
well,
Sure.
okay.
And all of this information is available on our website, selco.shrewsburyma.gov/solar. And basically, it's really simple. You come to us first to get pre-approval for a solar interconnect. There's a little application that you fill out if you're interested in doing this. Hopefully, you've already spoken to a solar company and you've got a quote and you have an idea of what all it's going to cost and whether you're a good candidate for solar at your home.
Okay.
Then, once you've got approval from us, you would apply through MWIC, which is the Joint Action Agency who's managing it for us.
Okay.
And they submit your project to the state after vetting it to make sure you're meeting those shading and directional requirements. The state would then give approval and say, yes, your project's great, we're going to reserve money for you. You go ahead, actually do the installation. When it comes online, the funds are released and you get that money right then. It's not paid over a period of time. Like when your project's complete, the funding was reserved for you and you get it.
Okay, great.
The old program, you would get reimbursed over 10 or 12 years.
Okay.
You have to submit how much was generated each quarter or something to get your reimbursements.
And just to I think stress the point is that you have to own the solar panels.
You have to
and
own the
you're
panels.
Not leasing the solar
Correct.
panels.
You have to own the panels and all of the power produced. In Shrewsbury, we don't allow you to enter into third-party power purchase agreements or
Okay.
panel leasing programs.
And just as a matter of perspective, 10 is for a fairly large roof. The average customer in Shrewsbury is, I think we have about 65 to 70 solar installed on homes in Shrewsbury, and the average is in the 7 to 8 range. So the full 12,000 is only for a really big home.
Yeah, if you're doing the full 10 kW size.
So why don't you touch upon the community solar subscription?
Right, so as Mike mentioned, we had built the community solar project on top of the landfill over off of Route 20, and that came online last June, early
Yep.
July.
Yep.
And we opened that up as a community solar project. The idea was 300 residential customers would be able to receive up to 10,000 kilowatt hours a year from this renewable resource. So it's locally produced power, carbon-free, it's great, no additional charge on your bill. And we're pretty almost fully subscribed. We have like maybe 8 spots left
Okay.
Out of 300.
out of 300.
Okay.
So that being said, if anybody's interested, give us a call at the
Give us
office.
8
You can
more.
try and see if you can slide in.
Yeah.
But we're also doing something interesting with this project on Beale.
Right, so Beale School broke ground in July. I attended along with Bob Holland, the chairman of the commission. And what we did with the Beale Building Committee is that we reserved 1 million kilowatt hours out of the projected 5 million kilowatt hours that the solar field will produce per year. We kept about 20% of that to go towards the Beale School for their energy use when it comes online. And by doing so, they will be, one of the according to Lieutenant Governor Polito, who spoke at the groundbreaking, they'll be one of the first public buildings to be net zero. And that, it's really a nice thing, and it allowed them to meet certain criteria requirements for being LEED certified as part of the SBA
So
project.
there you go. Some pretty
kind of
exciting
a
news
win-win
on that
thing.
front.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Mike, do you want to talk to us about the AMI project?
So yeah, this is another electric initiative that we started in the spring. It's really going to be a 3 to 4 year project. And what AMI stands for is Advanced Meter Infrastructure. And so what this really entails is that we will be replacing all 15,000 meters on homes and businesses throughout the town over a 3 to 4 year period. And this will allow us to read the meters remotely so that, one, it's much more efficient from a business perspective, but 2, all that data is captured, and there is certain software that comes along with the installation of the product that allows analytics for us to study neighborhoods to see
Yep.
which communities or streets are overloaded or underloaded and make engineering decisions to make the system more efficient. So the primary purpose behind it is for engineering and efficiencies in the system,
Yep.
but the added benefit is the ability to turn power on and off as people. It's a realtor's dream, because
Yeah.
when they swap and new customers, it's
Come
a
in,
process
yeah,
that takes sometimes a few days, and we'll be able to turn somebody off the day that they move out and put somebody back on when the next customer moves in remotely.
So really,
Correct,
really
Ja-
efficient, really efficient.
Yeah. So, but again, that's a multi-million-dollar project, And where we are now is we've narrowed it down to 2 vendors.
Okay.
We hope to do a pilot project this fall with a neighborhood of 350 plus homes. And then in 2020, 21, and 22, we will do a third until we're fully built out at 5,000 per year.
Great. So another survey is coming out on the electric side only. Do you want to talk about that, Jackie?
Sure. So every 2 to 3 years, we do a customer satisfaction survey. And typically, we do both electric and cable at the same time. This year, we're taking a different approach. We're going to do electric only now. We'll do cable at the end of the year. So customers may receive a phone call or an email. And please give us your feedback.
Yep. And just make sure and just be aware that the questions are only going to be related to your electric service.
Sure, yes. And the company that's doing it for us has done it for years. It's Great Blue Research.
Yep.
Your contact information is kept private, not sold. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the reason for breaking it out is we used to do one survey for both services, cable and electric, and the lines got blurred, and sometimes the customer
Yeah.
gets, and it's too long.
Yeah,
It's too long of a survey when you're trying to cover
yeah.
both. So
Yeah.
we're breaking it in half.
That's good. So if you get that call, you can stay on the line for
Yeah.
Yeah,
those
please
10
do.
minutes, right? Yeah.
We appreciate
I
it.
mean, we're accountable to our customers, so it's really important that we get your feedback. It helps us in our strategic decision making.
Well, honestly, it's like it's your company,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
So you're benefiting yourselves by taking the survey. So Wi-Fi, going over to cable and internet. Let's talk about what's been going on with Wi-Fi, because that's been pretty exciting.
So about a year ago, Jackie, we started, is it more than a year?
Almost 2 years at this point.
Okay, year and a half or so.
Time flies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we created a Wi-Fi product. We exited the Wi-Fi or providing Wi-Fi services in 2014. It became very difficult for us to really evaluate and analyze Wi-Fi issues when there were so many different products out there for our technicians and help desk people. So we standardized a Wi-Fi device. It's a very powerful, I'd say, for the lack of a better term, Cadillac of Wi-Fi devices. And we created that and we deployed it. And we now have over 1,100 people who have subscribed to that service at $9.95 a month. And the real power of it is it allows our help desk technicians to diagnose issues remotely because it's built into the router are some diagnostics that they can do tests from the help desk area and not send a truck roll. They also comes with parental controls where you can turn your Wi-Fi off for certain hours if you don't want your children to be online during certain hours of the day. So it's been very well received. Not many people that have taken it have dropped it. I'd say less, only a handful maybe. And that could be a result for their house just isn't conducive to, if some houses aren't really conducive to Wi-Fi, if they're built during a certain time and this horsehair plaster.
We did a whole episode on
Yeah,
that. Remember,
yeah,
like if you have walls and different ways. Yeah.
And a lot of metal
Yep.
studs. So no, it's been a great success, and we hope that it continues, and we hope people consider us when they're purchasing a new router or Wi-Fi.
Yeah, rather than buying your own, you can get ours, and it's
And-
nice.
and
You
you
call the help
have-
desk, we'll help you. You
exactly,
don't
you
have
have
to worry about
service.
setting it up. If there's a problem, we roll a truck.
Yeah.
We take care of it. We stand behind it. You're getting a good product, and we're responsible to make sure that you're getting your service. When you own your own router, not everybody's super technical, and that presents a challenge. So it's a great product.
And again, it's the customer service that goes along with it that makes it, that much better. So streaming now is like the big, where the industry is going is it's all streaming. So what do you guys have going on as far as the direct-to-consumer streaming?
So we're seeing some trends in the industry where a lot of the cable conglomerates are starting to pull their content from third-party streaming sources like Netflix and Amazon, Hulu, and they're putting together these direct-to-consumer packages. And what that means is if you're going to want to buy streaming content, you want to watch HGTV, you need to get a package from Scripps. If you want to watch Disney, you have to get a package from ABC, right?
Right.
And it starts to add up. All of a sudden, you're buying all of these packages and putting them together, and it becomes more expensive. So the cable bundle.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, these
Yeah, the
these are
cable
for,
bundle
like, the
is
people that don't have
almost
cable,
now
yeah.
becoming better price for you again.
yeah.
Where for a while it was a little different.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
we're
yeah.
coming back
It was
around.
dicey, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and you see NBC and Comcast owns NBC and a lot of channels. CBS yesterday, August
Viacom.
13th, merged with Viacom, and they're going to have their own streaming service. And obviously, one of the big ones will be launched this fall, where Disney is pulling content off of some of the streaming services, and they have it'll be Disney and ESPN, and they also bought some Fox networks. So they're going to have their own service. So I really think what's going to happen is you're going to pay for each of the bundles that you want, and you're probably going to pay between $12 and $15 a month for that bundle.
Yeah.
And then in the aggregate, you may be, if you want all the bundles that you had from the one bundle cable operator,
Yeah.
it may be equal to or more. So the industry is going.
It's kind of coming back around
yeah.
to the cable bundle being the most effective approach, most cost effective.
But really, it's a nice transition to the next topic. I think Maria want to talk about
Is
so
the
if you just
fiber,
wanted to,
yeah. If you guys want to
So
touch base on like fiber and what you guys have been doing for the build out.
So really, with all this streaming, if the world goes to a streaming platform versus a linear meaning
Cable.
through the cable box,
Yep.
if we go to a streaming platform, you need the bandwidth and you need the capacity to stream all these devices over the internet. So we need to build our plant to accommodate what we see as the future, not only from video streaming, but also through what is referred to as the Internet of Things. And the average home 10 years from now may have 20 to 30 devices connected in their home through the internet, their doorbell, their locks, their
Thermostats.
refrigerator, their oven. You'll be
thermostats,
leaving something in the oven and turning it on when you're an hour away from home, so it'll cook. So all these things are going to be connected, and you'll need the bandwidth to make that work. And so 2 years ago, we undertook a very comprehensive consulting report to see how we build out our system to meet the future demands. And there's two ways of doing it. One is to enhance the existing infrastructure or architecture, which is called HFC, which stands for Hybrid Fiber Coax. The other is to go directly fiber to the home. Fiber to the home is the preferred solution because it's more future-proof and allows for much greater speeds than the former. The problem is it's more expensive. And for us, I personally lean towards the fiber to the home solution. I want to make it work. The problem we have right now in just jumping right over to it for everybody in town is that our video product doesn't work on fiber. So we would have to rip and replace every cable box in every home and buy a new one. So we're taking more of a incremental approach to this. And so we have quietly been deploying more and more fiber in the field. We did one deployment around the town center. We're also doing one down at the southern end of Lake Street near Route 20, and we will start one in and around Flynn's truck stop. And we chose those areas because there were some big bandwidth users that if we could get them off the HFC plant and onto fiber, we extend the life of the HFC plant and make the experience better until we can cut everyone over to fiber. So we're looking at it. We really want to see what the resolution is in the video space before we go gung-ho, because I don't want to have to spend $5 or $6 million on cable boxes that may only have a shelf life of 2 to 3 years if everything is streamed in the future. And so if the future of cable is streaming, then it would dovetail really nicely into a fiber to the home deployment. But until we get that resolved, we're going to take a more incremental approach and build it over a period of years instead of one big blast out. And so it is very expensive. It's probably a $30 million initiative. And my goal is to build it half through a bond issue and half with cash reserves and lower the impact on the customer. So that's really our major cable focus, is on improving the plant to the best that we can with the resources that we have, and do it. The speed at which technology changes is incredible. So I think fiber has a very long shelf life. It's just the technology that's associated and used on the fiber changes so fast. We want to enter the market for video when it's right and not spend millions that then becomes obsolete in 2 years.
So as you're deploying the fiber because the new construction, like all the apartments that get built are getting built in town, have fiber.
All of that, Lakeway Commons businesses and apartments are direct fiber.
Okay, so there is a box or a technology that they have, right?
Yes.
And so and then the Route 20 project as well.
Right. So the thing is we do have a video product that works on it, but our existing infrastructure for what we call our legacy cable doesn't.
Okay.
So even if we go to the solution that we've started down the path with on Lakeway, we still need to rip and replace every box in the field. And we're not sold that the technology we're using in Lakeway is the right decision based on what we're seeing coming down the line in terms of what's next for video. How's it going to work? Where do we need to get?
Sure.
So it's the technology that we're using to deliver the video.
Yeah.
Is RFOG right now. We need to get to IP.
Yeah.
There's just a lot.
There's a lot that goes on
and there's generational differences too, where your teenager would adapt so easily to the next generation video, which is all streamed, and you don't have a box, but they can use their phone.
Exactly.
But the people who are retired, that's a big change for them, and so it's a hard thing to just throw at everybody all at once.
We want to find a solution that's right size for the various demographics that we have.
Sure.
That's cost effective, and that's going to have a good shelf life for us.
Yeah, but that said, our goal is to deploy fiber. It's just we can't do it all at once because of this video hurdle that we have to work our way through.
Patience is a virtue, right?
That's right, yeah.
So, well, we're getting there.
Lots of research being done, lots of options that are being considered, so we're on it.
Yeah.
We just want everybody to know that we're on it and we're working on it, right?
Yep.
So that was a lot to digest today. I hope everybody appreciates all the hard work that you guys are doing and all like the massive decision making that needs to go on to get all this stuff to work.
And I promise we won't be as long before our next episode.
Because there's a lot more coming around the corner that we need to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you real soon.